There is no doubt that the Red Ball speedrunning community is blowing up recently. With all the games in the series getting popular, the YouTube channel It's Maximum getting more attractions, and a lot of videos about it getting YouTube views. Red Ball 1 in particular is the game getting the most attractions of the speedrunning community, and is the most played game of the series. Other games that he made the video on also have a lot of attractions and runners. But today, I'm here to talk about the hidden gem of the Red Ball series, a category and a game that is not in the spotlight, but cherished and respected by all the runners out there. Today, we are going to look at the history of Red Ball 4 Volume 3, 80% Glitchless. Red Ball 4 Volume 3 is the third game of the Red Ball 4 series and the sixth installment of the mainline series as a whole. Red Ball 4 Volume 3 has the same physics as its two processors, with Red Ball being able to jump and move left and right. Jump height does not change whether you do a tap jump or a hold jump. Red Ball has 3 health points in the form of hearts. The P key is used to pause and the R key is used to reset to the last checkpoint, which also happens when Red Ball runs out of all 3 hearts, falls into the void, drowns, or fails the puzzle. When reset, the level will go back to its original state with the enemies and the stars, but not Red Ball, who will be sent to the last checkpoint he collected. When Red Ball goes through a certain X coordinate, the checkpoint will be automatically collected, and all the stars he collected before reaching that checkpoint will be saved to his score and will not respawn if Red Ball goes through that checkpoint. Same thing with the enemies, but they will respawn if their original spawn point is after the checkpoint, even if they were killed before. This leads to some interesting situations for 100%ing a game, but that is not what we're here to talk about. Red Ball has a fixed top speed when accelerating on flat ground, with it being 11, but when a corner is hit or a slope is lit on, he will accelerate to a higher speed. Red Ball also has some other weird physics, but we will talk about that when we move on later into the video. The game consists of 15 levels, with the beginning 14 being platforming levels with puzzles, movement blocking obstacles, and enemies to kill. The obstacles include normal enemies, bomb enemies, crushers, lasers, and escalators. Normal enemies takes 1 hit on their top to kill, and each hit on the side will lose the player 1 heart. Bombs will see where the player is, and when he gets close enough, will activate and charge to a player. If the player runs straight onto the side of it, the bomb will explode instantly and the player will die. If the player hits the bomb on top, the bomb will have a 2-second timer from when it started activating to when it explodes. The damage it dealt depends on the distance from it to the player. If it's close, then the player will lose all 3 hearts, then die. If it's further, then it would be 2 hearts, 1 heart, then 0. Lasers are the blue beams for shooting from a shooter. The laser deals damage over time, with the player losing 1 heart per frame inside the laser. Level 15, the last level of the game, is the boss level, consisting of 3 phases. The boss itself has 6 health points, marked as hearts. In phase 1, the boss will slam 3 times to the ground, each slam causing 5 of the 6 crushers to come down. The one that won't get activated is the one on the most right or the most left, depending on the boss's position. After each slam, the boss will go off screen, then comes back the other side and be vulnerable for a hit. After 3 hits, phase 2 will start, where a random set of crushers will activate to try and kill the player. But it turns out that the crushers are not random at all. Rather, the pattern is set from the get-go. If we try labeling the crushers from left to right, numbers from 1 to 6, the pattern will be 3 4, 2 5, 1 3 5, 2 4 6, and 1 2 5 6. Speedrunners have got this pattern down and know where to stand to not get crushed and lose the run. Well, except for the few runners.
3. Oh god, wait, I forgot to move. No! No!
In phase 3, the boss will slam 3 times to the ground again, but this time, after each slam, there will be a bomb moving from the side the boss is not on to the boss itself, trying to kill the player. If the bomb hits the player, it will kill the player. If the bomb does not kill the player, but instead hits the boss or explodes near the boss will take 1 heart of damage. When the boss's health reaches 0, it is defeated. The game has been won and the final cutscene will play. And that is the game. As basic as it is, it has a rich history of world records. So let's start with the first one. Red Ball 4 Vol.3 was published in 2013, so naturally, its first world record was done in 2013 by a well-known flash game speedrunner, trimuphs. The time he got was 7:43, but unfortunately, its video has been lost to time. To get the first world record that had video proof, let's skip forward to February of 2015, where the first recorded world record was performed, a 6:25 by a runner called trimuphs. The first thing you would notice is that the timer starts from when they press the level 1 button. That wouldn't be the case now, as runs start from pressing the skip button at the bottom right of the opening cutscene. The run is retimed to a 6:01, but for the sake of history, we will go by the time it was submitted, which is a 6:25. If you haven't seen it already, this run just looks like a fast casual playthrough of the game. Although there were still strategies, there were very few. The run pretty much consists of slowing down as little as possible while not dying. One strategy you will see is from level 1, where they slow down waiting for the laser as little as possible, sacrificing 2 health points in the process, saving half a second. One more thing you will see from this run is that it is very laggy, especially in the levels with 4 lasers rotating around, such as 8 and 10. One pretty creative strategy is in level 12, where they push the ball to the platform below, wait for a bit, then jumped at just the right time so that they would land on the ball without taking damage, then jumped off the ball to make it to the other side. This maneuver overall saves a few seconds from the intended way, as they also skip the triggering of the bomb and pushing the boulder back part. The rest of the run was decent to say the least. Movement can be improved by a lot more, and more strategies need to be found to bring the time down even lower. The next world record will come just a day later, when speedrunner GenZ08 got a time of 6:05 submitted to the leaderboards. Looking at the splits, it appears that they got the 6:14 before this run. This run is the first run that makes use of the reset button, as they did use it to save time at levels 1 and 2. The biggest time loss in this run is in level 13, where they lost 20 seconds because of failing to do a strategy where you jump on both bombs skipping the second platform. Otherwise, this run is pretty good for the time, with innovative strategies and pretty decent movements, and the record will stay there for another long period. 2015 passed, 2016 came around, and in April, a new world record was set on the 7th. One thing that is interesting about this run is that it is the most viewed speedrun of the category on YouTube by far, with 14,000 views, which is more than I ever had on any of my video. So if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and like this video, share it with some friends, and subscribe to me. I would greatly appreciate that. Looking at this run, it looks like a really clean casual run. The main time save was just not dying and losing major times, and even though it still had a lot of mistakes, for the time, it was good enough for a world record. Or is it? On the same day, Chenzi08 came back with a new world record of 521. A look at their splits will say that they had a 531 before, which means Jazz's 549 was never a world record. Sorry Jazz. This run was really clean for the time, with all the strategies executed well. The reset in 1, 2, and 8, the ball strategy in 12, and a bold move by going for the 13 bomb jumps. There wasn't a big mistake in this run, with the only mistake seen by the untrained eye was her death in 13, which lost about 4 seconds. Although a lot of time was still lost due to lag at 8 and 10, the run was good and as expected, it would stay on top for a while. After the historic day that was April 7th, 2016, the game fell silent for a while again, with no runners submitting any runs for the next year. But finally, after over a year, another runner would appear. The 9th of April 2017, after exactly 367 days of inactivity on the leaderboards, a runner going by the name of Maximal Megamings submitted a run with a time of 5:51. Maximal Megamings is a flash game variety speedrunner with a lot of top times and world records in other games. Unfortunately, the video for this run seems to not exist anymore. But just 2 days later, he would come back and get a 5:37, good enough for second place at the time. This one wasn't anything special to say, but the big factor that put it 16 seconds behind is the immense lag during the run. It would take just 9 days later to have another runner on the board, this time being a 5:34 by Laser Trap. This run's major time loss to the world record was not doing the 12 strat and a major death in 14. By this point, not many major skips were being implemented into the run. Sure, there was a 12 skip, but the run is still just a fast, casual playthrough of the game. But the next world record would give it just that, a major breakthrough. Another year would pass without anyone challenging Chenzi's 521 as it has stayed the world record for over 2 years. But on the 13th of June 2018, Maximal Megamings finally took the crown with a 513. The big skip in this run was a 2-second time save in level 12 by doing 2 precise bounces on these enemies to make the earlier crusher cycle, something which hasn't been done in any runs before. Besides the new strat, it also had better movement and a lot less lag than Chenzi's run. Apparently he did upgrade his laptop. This run is the first world record by Maximal and it sure wouldn't be the last. However, he wouldn't be on the throne for long. Just 5 days later, Chenzi struck back with a 506. This run has some good movement and a bunch of new strats. First, by moving barely to the left on this jump in 7, it is possible to just touch the bomb and get a bounce off of it without dying, saving a bit of time. This strategy was originally used in Jazz's 549, but it has most likely been forgotten until Chenzi remembers it. And then, in level 10, Chenzi did a trick that would change Red Ball 4 Vol.3 speedrunning forever, the laser phase. As I said earlier, the laser deals damage over time and it dealt damage of 1 heart per frame. This means that if the laser could somehow be bypassed in less than 3 frames, it would not kill Red Ball. Chenzi uses this to his advantage in level 10, using the speed he got from level 9 combined with the lasers moving in the opposite direction to phase through the laser, saving a boatload of time over the normal route. The laser phase is not considered a glitch by the community, as not instantly dying when touching a laser is an intended mechanic. Chenzi also brought back the ball jump in level 12 and the bomb strat in level 13, closing out a very solid 5:06. With this, sub 5 became much closer than ever, as runners were just 7 seconds away from the fateful barrier. And just 2 days later, Maximal strikes back with a 5:02, closing in on the fabled sub 5. This run did not feature any new strats, as movement became Maximal's main priority. This run looks clean with only a few minor hiccups here and there, and it was good enough for a 5:02. With this run, Maximal started grinding for the fabled sub 5, and 2 days later, on the 22nd of June 2018, Maximal got this run. .459, the first ever sub 5 in Red Ball 4 Volume 3's history. He had done it, the madman. He beat Red Ball 4 Volume 3 in under 5 minutes. Truly a historic achievement. As for the strategies used, there was a new 1 in 9 that saved over 4 seconds. By waiting for the right amount of time before jumping to the first chain platform, it is possible to be lined up just right so that the distance to the second platform is close enough to jump across, but far enough to not get killed by the bomb, as it would be triggered and go off into the void. This strat ended up saving nearly 5 seconds, and it was a gold split in 9 for him. With this run, he has cemented himself as the dominant world record holder of the game, and he would not stop there. After achieving the sub 5, Maximal did not stop there. Just 5 days later, he got a new world record, this time a 4:57. This run's big time loss was missing the cycle in 12 and around a second in 13 from hitting the front of this ball, but overall quite decent otherwise. He would keep grinding for a better time, and on the next day, this happened. A 4:52. Going by his reaction, he was pretty impressed by the run. It was really good, with him being close to death several times, like in 3, 7, and 8. The big new strat for this run, although he didn't know it yet, was this jump in 6. Here, he jumped at a precise angle to hit the front corner of this platform, resulting in another jump. But this is a corner jump, so it does more height than a normal jump, which meant he got shooed up to the upper platform. A safe jump later, he got the strategy and saved around a second. But this ended up being a crucial strategy later on in the progression. Right now, let's just leave it at that. This run was the biggest time cut on the world record since Chenzi took back the world record with a 5:06. And Maximal took a break after that run, moving on to other games, leaving the world record uncontested for another 6 months. But in those 6 months, another runner would rise to world record contending level, its maximum, for Maximum, who at the time was the world record holder in Red Ball 1, Red Ball 2, Red Ball 3, and Red Ball 4 Volume 2, decided to take Red Ball 4 Volume 3 as his next game to try and complete the mainline game sweep. On the 25th of October, he got a 506, netting him tied second place on the leaderboard. He would try on and off to beat Maximal's record, but before he had the chance to do that, Maximal lowered the world record to a 450. So how did he save nearly 2 seconds over his already insane 452? To start, his movement was optimized to a higher level. He started taking more risks and saving more time because of it. Although there were still some mistakes, like not hitting the 6 strat, his movement made up for it. And this record would end up standing for a long time, even though both of them were grinding to beat it. In January, its Maximum would make a big push to take the record. On the 16th, he would add a 459, getting the second ever sub 5 in history. This run's big time loss to the world record was a second in 7, a second in 8, and a crucial death in 12 that lost him 4 seconds. Not stopping there, he got a 453 just 5 days later on the 21st. The big time loss of this run is a 2-second stall in level 11, ultimately costing him the chance at the world record. Otherwise, this is still a really good run, even hitting the 6th strategy. Maximum would continue to grind for the record and the first 4x, but he would not be the one who did it, as just 3 days later, Maximal Megamings, the man who got the first sub 5, did this. .449, breaking what was pretty much the final 10-second barrier for this category at the time. This run was great from start to finish, with the only mistake being a 3-second time loss in level 13. Understandably, Maximal was happy with the run. It featured a lot of strategies that he went for. This new 3 strat that saves around a second, the 6 corner jump, the 9 skip, and 10 laser phase. This 449 would end up being the final world record of this category, and that is the current world record. Nah, I'm just kidding. On the 28th of January 2019, its Maximum, second place on the leaderboard at the time, was doing some MRBG Red Ball 4 attempts. He goes into Volume 3 ahead of his PB and was just trying to finish the run out, then this happens. Double jumping, a trick that was already found in the previous 2 alterations of the game, is possible in Volume 3. It only took nearly 6 years after the game was released, but players finally found double jumping in this game. With this, MotorJam and its Maximum both broke Maximal's record with ease on the next day, and the game was then split between 2 categories, but that is the story for another video. From now, we will focus on only one category, 80% Glitchless, which is now separated from 80% because of the double jump discovery. All the records that I have and will talk about in this video is done without double jumping. But as it turned out, Maximum was not the one who discovered it. It was Gen Z. On the 24th of September 2021, while I was writing the script for this video, I watched back all the runs to see the strategies used. But when I watched Gen Z's 506, something felt off in level 4. I immediately asked the mods about this moment. Their immediate response was conflicted, with some thinking it was a bomb jump and others thinking it was a double jump. After some careful analysis, we concluded that it was a double jump and it was moved to the any % leaderboard. The reason I was still featuring it in the video was that double jumping still wasn't a thing yet for another half a year, and this was still on the Glitchless leaderboard until my discovery. So shoutouts to Gen Z and congrats, you accidentally discovered a revolutionary trick and you did not know about that. Another 7 months would pass without anyone challenging for the top spot on the leaderboard. But on the 1st of September, the community would be shocked seeing a completely unknown runner by the name of DHA getting the time of 4:45, a new world record by 4 seconds. So how did he save 4 seconds over an already optimized run by Maximal? Well, there was a new revolutionary strategy in level 11. By jumping just before this button, it is possible to graze the button in a way so that it gives you more height, just enough to make the slope. The slope is usually not possible to jump on, but for some reason, Evgeny Fedoshev, the creator of the game, left a part of it that can be jumped on. With this, 11 slope jump became a thing, and DHA saved 8 seconds over Maximal with it. And even though he messed up some part of the run, like this questionable decision in level 4, missing the corner jump in 6, or taking 3 tries to get on the button in 8, the advantage was enough for him to get the record by 4 seconds, stealing the crown from Maximal. However, DHA wouldn't get to celebrate for long, as just 6 days later, Maximal struck back with a 440. He pretty much hit every single strat that he was going for in this run, and the movement was good enough to get the biggest world record time cut since his own 506, a time cut by over 5 seconds. Maximal was understandably satisfied with this run, as he got what he set out to achieve, a world record with all the strats he went for. And this is when the world record progression enters the DHA domination. After Maximal got his 440, DHA continued to grind the game, and he got his record back with a 437 on the 9th of September, just 2 days after Maximal got his 440. He again implemented a new strategy, this time a laser phase in level 5. In level 5, there are these 2 lasers that move to box red ball in the middle. Runners had been waiting between the 2 lasers to ensure not dying, but it loses around 4 seconds. DHA figured out that by moving and jumping at just the right time, it was possible to phase through the laser and save the 4 seconds. DHA now had more leniency in other levels, and in level 13 he brought back Gen Z's bomb strat to save a bit over half a second. This run was good, but nowhere near optimized, and DHA would prove that by getting another record with a time of 4:36 the next day. In this run, he did not add any new strategies, but instead the time save came from movement optimization. He again missed the 6th strat and did not have the best ending to level 12, but it was enough to get a new world record. With this, DHA knew with some new strategies, he could bring the time down to under 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And when going for the milestone, he implemented 2 brand new strategies. The first is in level 1, where with a precise jump, he could land on the corner of the first stair and get a corner jump on that stair, removing the need to slow down. After that, he didn't reset at the checkpoint like normal, but instead went for the laser phase. This strategy has been done in any percent runs before, but it hadn't been implemented here due to the inconsistency of having less speed, which makes the phase even harder. One last strategy he would add on to the run was the boss strat, and for what it is, let's take a look. This boss strat is very complicated, but it can be divided into 3 parts. The first part is to get between the gap of these two crushers. Normally, when you just go into the gap without touching them, the gap to get out is too small for it to work. So, the members of the community have found a workaround to this, touching either the first or the second crusher before moving into the gap. This does not guarantee that the strat will be successful, but it greatly increases its chance, with it being around 50% now. The second part is to get down, hit the boss so that it goes to the other side without damaging it, then go to the other side hitting it twice. That part is the easier part of this strategy, but if the gap is too small after the first part, then red ball will be too slow to hit the boss before it became vulnerable. It is also important to make sure that the boss jumps left for the second hit, as it is crucial for the third part, where you have to run to the other side, do some maneuver under the crushers, and hit the boss for the third time to finish the first phase. This part has killed many runs before because of the small leniency that it gives. This crusher in particular, which has a decent chance of activating, can make this part even harder and gives even less room for error. This strat saved around 3 to 4 seconds, and it was enough time save for DHA to go for the fabled sub 430. And on the fateful day of September 12, 2019, he did this. He did it, a 429.283. After a lot of effort by the community and the runners, the last 10-second barrier of this game was finally broken. This run was so good in fact that DHA said it killed the game, and it did. The run was seemingly perfect, and the world record would stand for a long while, and I mean very long. After DHA's 429 was achieved, the world record progression slowed down quite significantly. In this period, a few runners got in the mix to try the category for themselves, especially in 2021. JD Mitchell, Naku, Epicos, Reverse Black and White, Dill Pickle, and many more have tried the category to get a good time, but perhaps none of those people came closer to the world record than Mchatlak. He is a Turkish speedrunner who first got their hand on the Red Ball series at around January, while the game was massively blowing up. He submitted his first Red Ball 4 Volume 3 Glitchless speedrun on the 4th of April with a time of 5:39. He would massively improve this to a 5:06 just 9 days later on the 13th. He would keep bringing his time down, getting a 4:53 on the 19th, then a 4:48 on the 21st. But what happened next was truly out of his intention. 6 days after his 4:48 PB, he would get himself a 4:38, claiming second place on the leaderboard. What is interesting about this run is that even though he was going for a 3x, he did miss the 11 strat once and the gameplay wasn't good enough for a 3x. So how did he get this time then? Well, by doing a forbidden strategy for runs. A strategy that only has a 10% chance of success that it never got used. He went for 13 laser phase. Laser phase is a strategy to get red ball through this standing laser. On the surface, it might look impossible, but here's a catch. There is an escalator before it, and it gives enough speed to get red ball through the laser. However, this strategy is really inconsistent as the speed and position has to line up just right for it to succeed. Mchadlak ended up saving over 6 seconds, clutching out the 3x and second place on the leaderboard. After the run, Mchadlak was satisfied having taken second place and he stopped playing the category, moving on to other things. Say hello to Dustless, aka me. Yes, the girl who made the video does appear in it. I started my journey in this game on the 25th of May 2021 when no one was grinding the game. I quickly got a 551 a few attempts in, and at the end of the day, I got a 458, one of the few sub 5s on the leaderboard at the time. The next day, I brought the time down to a 448, and then the day after, I got a 443. These runs aren't anything to brag about, but it was steady progress to the front. But the next PB that I got, a 436, took me another 4 days of grinding, with a lot of late game chokes. A lot. The run was 3rd place at the time. Wait, 3rd? Who took 2nd? Well, it was a familiar face that has appeared before in this video. It's Maximum. On the 31st of May 2021, Maximum take Red Ball 4 Volume 3 Glitchless as his next category in his journey to sweep all 12 categories of the Red Ball 4 Flash games. He had the experience already, and on his first day of playing, he got a 433, only 4 seconds behind DHA's world record. He was committed to go for it, and he had all the strategies to do so. Around the same time, XD Xbox Jaja found a new strategy in level 8 that had the potential to save around 2 seconds if done well. This evolves using the bounce of the button like in level 11 to gain height, barely making the platform. With this, Maximum got one new strategy under his belt and he would get a 431 the very next day. But on the same day, I was grinding runs too, and on attempt 789, I got on a run barely ahead of my PB out of level 11 and was 3.5 seconds behind the world record. But I was going for 13 laser phase, a 1 in 10 strategy to get this record, and here is what unfolded next. The run got retimed to 4:30.100, less than a second off of DHA's world record, and I was ahead after level 13. But the nerves got into me and I couldn't clutch out the run, leaving the record to be taken another day. And then, on the 3rd, Max got on the run that looked like it could be it, but he came up just short, getting a 4:29.983, the second ever 2x, but just 0.7 seconds off of the record. The record was getting closer than ever, and it was only a matter of time before someone took it away from DHA. On the morning of the 4th of June, Roblox8192, a member of the Vol.3 task community, sent a link to the video titled Red Ball 4 Vol.3 13 Laser Phase is free. In the video, she showed a setup to get the laser phase 100% of the time. A strategy like it was in the talks in the community, and Roblox was the one who figured it out. I won't get into details about the setup, as she explained it pretty well in the description of that video. With this, Maximum immediately went to try and take the record for himself, as he now had a 3.5 second time save in 13, and he got a 4:27 very soon after, featuring Xbox 8, the 13 laser phase setup, and a really swag strat in 14.
Oh! Oh, did you see that?
This run finally took down DHA's record, which had stood for nearly 21 months. Even though it had some mistakes, Max was happy that he took down the record from DHA and he went to do other projects. But then, after Max ended his stream, Roblox found another setup for 13 laser phase, this time way easier and faster than the first method, saving 6 seconds over the normal way. This is the strat. With this, I finally took a red ball main category world record with a 4:25, 10 hours after Max got his 4:27. It was my first world record, and although it was clean, it had a lot of mistakes that might be unsighted by an untrained eye. Later that same day, the revolution continued as Roblox found another consistent setup. This time it was for the laser phase and level 5. With this, Maximum streamed his attempts to take down my world record right after it was found and got on quite some good paces, with some of them even getting to the boss. But on one run, he got a world record pace past the first phase, and with Lakuki's new boss phase 3 setup, he was on pace for the world record, and then this happened. The run got retimed to 4:25.533, 1 frame behind the record. Max was not satisfied with this, and he says he will get 1x fast. Between this, Sawyer0622 found a new setup in level 5, which is faster than Roblox. He also found a setup for the 11 slope jump that is more consistent. Max was set on the grind for 41x, as he had all the strats he needed, and later in the day, he would take back the record with this run. A 420.290, less than 0.3 seconds away from his ultimate goal of a 41x. Max was so close to his goal, and he only needed one run that all came together to get that, and on his stream the next day, he got a chance like it.
Oh, yes, dude, we did it.
He did it, a 4:18.950. The run was great, it was nearly perfect, and it might have been the final 10-second barrier to ever be broken. Maximum was unquestionably happy with the run, with his description reading:
I started playing this category in hopes of defeating DHA's world record of 429.283 set back in 2019. Due to strategies and consistent setups being found by people like XDXbox Jaja, Sawyer0622, Roblox8192, and more, this happened. Thank you all for making this possible.
Indeed, he only sought after the goal of defeating DHA's 429.283, but due to all the new setups, he beat it by over 10 seconds. Maximum would retire from the category, leaving the world record uncontested for another 3 months. On the 12th of July 2021, Incredi, who was the any percent world record holder at the time, decided to grind for the Glitchless world record. The first run he got was a 433, for which the video never existed. The same day he got a 428, and then the next day he got a 425, less than a quarter of a second behind second place. He would continue grinding offline, getting many world record paces past level 8, and after a lot of on and off grinding, on the 31st of July 2021, he finally did it. He got past the first phase of the boss, he got through the first 2 bombs, and is prepared to take the final bomb. He just needed to get through the 3rd bomb safely and he would finally have the world record. Yeah, the record will have to wait for another run then. But then, on the 2nd of August, 2 days after that heartbreak double jump and a lot more boss jokes, he did this.
Let's go!
I'm free.
Let's go! Let's go!
I'm
Let's
free.
go!
I'm free.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes!
109.
Oh shit!
Yes.
Finally!
I'm
Yeah!
done.
Yes!
Yes.
After many chokes and fails, he finally took the record away from Maximum. He revealed his strats in the run with 2 new strategies. The first one being this jump in level 4 where he resets and can jump at the perfect frame to get a fast bounce off of this corner, saving around a second over the normal route. The second is even bigger, this new strategy in level 8. By waiting at this button for the right amount of time, then jump at the right frame, it is possible to get a bounce off of this button to easily make it through this gap. Incredi said that it was very inconsistent and he, even after many practice of the strat, still only had a 1 in 4 consistency at it. The strategy saved nearly 4 seconds and is what put this run on top. Later on, he would also take the 100% record away from Max to get the full game sweep. He then would return to any percent to lower his record even more, but unknown to him, someone was trying to take back the crown. After learning about the new 8 strategy, I, Glitchless27, who had got a 422.433 right after Incredi got his 425, start my quest to take back the crown. And on the first day of learning the strat, I got 2 PBs in a row, both being a 421. Both having crucial deaths after level 8 that blew the chance to get the record. Knowing I can take the record and knowing Incredi is not grinding for it, I decided to grind until I got the record. On August 10th, I got a 428.233, getting second place on the leaderboard and being only 2.5 seconds off of the record. The major mistake of the run is a slow second half of 13, this missed jump in 14 and a bad boss. And then, 737 attempts later, 15 post-level 8 chokes between those attempts, I started the 5,300th attempt. Jokingly said that this would be the run because it was a multiple of 100. I did not expect what would happen next. I finally took back the world record from Incredi and retook the #1 spot on the leaderboard. Little did I know, this would end up being just the beginning of the final battle. Incredi would return to the category right after I took his record, and we began pushing the game to its absolute limit. Incredi would start going for the more dangerous version of the 5 laser phase setup, which has a frame perfect jump, and I went for setupless 5, which saves the same amount. A new strat from level 9 was implemented from the task that goes under the bomb instead of over it, saving around half a second in the process. Knowing that my world record had a dex in level 10 that lost about 3 seconds, that brings the best possible time down to the 4:11, and that's what Incredi and I were shooting for at the time. After just 2 days of grinding, but a lot of attempts, Incredi got a 413.490. This run implemented all of those strats, but he did make some mistakes in the run, like this accidental jump in 8 and a very bad level 13. The boss was also really bad, with him losing over a second to optimal. Otherwise, the run was decent. I also figured out a new strat in level 7 that saved around half a second to Incredi's method, bringing the best possible time to the 40x range. Now the speedrun was getting more optimized than ever. And then, just 3 days later, I took back the record with a 412.433, exactly 1000 attempts after my latest PB. The run was the final jolt we needed for the OX push, as with this run, OX was now proven to be possible. But what time saves are left? Well, here's a breakdown. There is a strat to hit this corner of this stair that saves around half a second. A corner bump in level 4 cost me nearly half a second. This bomb jump in level 5 could be nearly half a second faster. I lost nearly a second in level 6 and over half a second in level 9 because I didn't do Incredi's strategy. I also lost nearly half a second from unoptimal jumps in 10 and nearly a second in boss. This all added up to around a mid 408/407 at best, and now, with 40x in sight, we continued doing attempts. On the 21st of August, Incredi got another PB, a 412.467, 1 frame behind my world record. Notably, this was the second time someone got in a frame of my world record after Max and his 425.533. This run had nothing to talk about, so we all keep grinding. The same day, Incredi would retake the world record with a 411.810, this time with this bomb jump in level 5, which is around 0.3 seconds faster than his happening, and chokes just keep coming. And on the 25th, Incredi came ever closer to breaking the barrier, getting a 410.600, now just 19 frames away. The main mistake that snatch OX away from him are these 2 slow jumps in level 6 and 11. 2 days later on the 27th, I got a new PB of 411.300. This PB was so disappointing for me since I got a 12 task strat which saved a second over normal to save that run. But I failed to jump in 14 again like in my 418 and only got a mid 109 boss. I was so disappointed that I just deleted the recording and the splits for the run out of spite, but still kept grinding. With both runners having a bunch of close calls and near misses, OX was gonna happen someday, and soon. We both pushed the game to its absolute edge, with both having mid 4OX summer best, pouring in hours and hours of grinding. One day, the OX, the definite final barrier of the game, would be broken. I talked about the final 10-second barriers a lot in this video, but this might just truly be the final one. With all of the intense grinding, someone will achieve the fabled 4OX and be forever cemented in history. And on the next day, the 28th of August, someone finally did it.
At this rate, I'm never gonna even get OX. I've been trying so hard. I have done literally everything in my power.
It's alive! It's done! It's done! I'm done! I'm free! I'm free! I'm free! I'm free! I'm free! I'm free! I'm done!
After over 70 hours of playtime, 6,055 attempts, Incredi finally broke through and got a 409.867, the first ever 4OX in history. The run was a sight to behold. It looked amazing. It looked fabulous. Incredi felt relief. He felt victorious, as his run description stated.
Simply at a loss for words here. After 70 hours, 60 plus OX pace runs out of 8, 20 plus OX pace runs out of 11, and 6 OX pace runs into the boss, I finally achieved my ultimate goal for this category. This is by far the most grueling 10-second sub I have ever achieved in the Red Bull series. This run is not perfect. There is 0.8 seconds of miscellaneous time save in levels 1 through 8 from suboptimal gameplay, 0.3 seconds in 11 from not getting the strat perfectly, 0.4 seconds in 12 from a suboptimal ball jump, 0.5 seconds from a suboptimal boss phase 1, and 0.6 seconds over an optimal 3-2-2 bomb flips on boss phase 3. There is also 1 second of time save with task 12, half a second with aisle 13, and 1.5 seconds with an absolutely perfect boss over all of that. 407 is definitely possible in this category, and I see a low to mid OX as being the absolute limit for RTA runs here. Thanks to Roblox for finding the setup for 13 laser phase. It was the main reason I chose to pursue grinding V3 instead of other games. Thanks / shoutouts to Glitchless for sacrificing dozens of hours in this category in pursuit of the world record and eventually the OX. You were the driving influence behind my continued desire to improve in this category. Massive respect for keeping up the grind for so long. Huge thanks to everyone who came into the voice chat at some point to keep me sane during this grind, especially Xbox Jaja, who was in VC for nearly the entire journey. While this record still has quite a bit of room for improvement, I am permanently retiring from this category. Good luck and Godspeed to all runners looking to push this time further into the OX range.
409.867 by Incredi is where the world record stands today. But is 409 the final 10-second barrier? What time is left to save over that run? Well, as Incredi himself stated above, 0.8 second in level 1 to 8, 0.3 in 11, 0.4 in 12, and 1.1 seconds in boss. But there are more additional time saves. He could have got this corner jump in 3 and saved half a second. His 4 and 5 in total was half a second slower than optimal. A front corner jump in 6 would have saved another half a second. Then 0.3 in 11 from a better jump, 1.5 seconds in 12 from using the task strat, which had been hit in runs before. There is over 2 seconds to save in boss from doing this strat. And Xbox Jaja found another strategy in level 13 that had the potential to save up to a second. This all adds up to around a 403 or high 402 if done well. So, is the 400x barrier the final 10-second barrier ever? The answer is probably a yes for now. Sub 4 is still a distant pipe dream, but that's not to say that it is impossible. The tool-assisted speedrun of the game, which had been put together by a lot of community members, most notably Starline, Roblox 8192, and Metronas Lovensku, is a 339.933, completely surpassing the sub 4 barrier. The game has been optimized to another level thanks to the effort of the whole community, with the runners like Incredi, Maximum, DHA or Maximal taking turns optimizing the game to its limit. The strat finders such as Roblox 8192, Xbox Jaja, or Sawyer 0622 finding consistent setups to make the game easier. After the final battle, the category got noted by a large amount of Red Ball community members, with new runners running the game, brewing more competition. In the 8 years that the speedrunning scene of the game has been around, the game was played by many players, having a lot of competitions, revolutions, and storylines on top of that. And I'm sure this all is just the beginning of the journey. Thank you for watching.